Mi madre. Padre amado. Mira el que no lo... Mira, mira. Mira, mira, mira. Ay, Dios mío. Ay, Padre amado.
The Greater Santo Domingo metropolitan area is currently facing one of its most severe climate emergencies in recent history. A catastrophic combination of a persistent atmospheric trough, vaguada, and a slow-moving frontal system has dumped an unprecedented volume of rain over the National District and the Santo Domingo province, leaving a trail of destruction, loss of life, and a city paralyzed by water. The crisis began in the pre-dawn hours of Wednesday, April 8th, 2026. What was initially forecasted as a standard seasonal rain event rapidly escalated into a localized weather bomb. According to the Dominican Institute of Meteorology, INDOMET, weather stations in the capital recorded an astounding 408 millimeters, approximately 16.06 inches, of rainfall within a 24-hour window. To put this into a historical context, this amount of water exceeds the total average rainfall usually expected for the entire months of April and May combined. Meteorologists point to atmospheric stagnation, where the clouds remained locked over the urban center due to high-pressure ridges in the Atlantic, as the primary reason for the extreme accumulation. The saturation of the soil reached 100% within the first 6 hours, meaning every subsequent drop of rain became immediate surface runoff, turning streets into raging rivers. The most heart-wrenching aspect of the floods is the human cost. Emergency services have officially confirmed the death of a minor in Santo Domingo West, SDO. The tragedy occurred in the sector of Guajimán, where a retaining wall, weakened by the relentless hydraulic pressure of the saturated earth, collapsed onto a residential structure. Beyond the confirmed fatality, the Civil Defense and the Red Cross have reported over 5,000 individuals have been displaced from their homes, particularly in the cañadas, urban ravines, of Guajimía and Los Peralejos. In the middle-class neighborhood of Las Praderas, specialized divers from the fire department rescued a citizen who had been sucked into a faulty storm drain while attempting to clear debris from his vehicle. Authorities are currently investigating reports of at least 3 individuals missing in the vicinity of the Ozama River, where water levels have risen by over 4 meters, overtopping the banks and inundating the La Barquita and Ribera del Ozama sectors. Santo Domingo's infrastructure, already strained by rapid and often unplanned urban growth, has essentially buckled. The Autopista Duarte, the most critical logistical artery connecting the capital to the Cibao region, became impassable. Aerial footage showed hundreds of vehicles, ranging from private sedans to heavy cargo trucks, submerged up to their rooftops near the Kilometer 9 entrance. The Santo Domingo Metro has become a sanctuary for many, though several stations had to close their entrances due to water cascading down the stairs, mimicking waterfalls. All OMSA bus routes were suspended, leaving thousands of workers stranded in the city center overnight. As a preventive measure to avoid mass electrocutions, the electricity distributors, Edeste and Edesur, cut power to over 45 circuits. This left approximately 150,000 residents in the dark. Furthermore, the CAASD, Santo Domingo Water and Sewerage Corporation, reported that several pumping stations were overwhelmed by turbidity and mud, forcing a temporary shutdown of the potable water supply for 40% of the city. This event has reignited a fierce national controversy regarding the pluvial drainage of Santo Domingo. For decades, urban planners have warned that the city's underground pipe network is designed for a population of 500,000, while the current metropolitan population exceeds 3 million. Experts argue that the curation of the soil, the process where green spaces are replaced by concrete, has left the city with nowhere for the water to go. "We are living in a concrete bowl," said one lead engineer from the Dominican College of Engineers, Codia. "Unless there is a multi-billion-dollar investment in a deep tunnel drainage system, every major storm will result in this same tragedy. President Luis Abinader convened an emergency cabinet meeting at the National Palace, declaring the province of Santo Domingo a disaster zone. The Emergency Operations Center, COE, led by General Juan Manuel Mendez, has maintained a red alert, maximum danger, for the region. The government's response includes deployment of mobile kitchens, comedores económicos, to provide 100,000 daily rations of food to displaced families, mobilization of heavy machinery to clear landslides on the Avenida del Rio and remove thousands of tons of plastic waste that clogged the drainage grates. The Ministry of Labor issued a decree urging businesses to implement telework where possible and to avoid penalizing employees who cannot reach their offices. Preliminary estimates from the Chamber of Commerce suggest that the 2 days of flooding have caused losses exceeding $200 million. This includes physical damage to commercial warehouses in the industrial zones of Herrera and Jaina, total loss of thousands of private vehicles, interruption of the supply chain for perishable goods coming from the interior of the country. As the clouds begin to break intermittently, the focus shifts to recovery. However, the Indomet warning remains active. More rain is expected over the weekend. This event serves as a grim reminder of the Dominican Republic's high vulnerability to climate change. With rising sea levels and more intense tropical systems, the new normal for Santo Domingo requires an immediate and radical shift in urban policy. The resilience of the capitaleños is being tested once again. While the water may recede in the coming days, the psychological and economic scars of the April 8th flood will remain for years to come. According to Civil Defense, at least 195 people have been displaced to safe areas, while 6 communities remain cut off in the provinces of Puerto Plata and Monte Plata. Additionally, some 306 homes are flooded. The report indicates that at least 5 rivers have overflowed in different areas, including Santo Domingo, San José de Ocoa, and San Cristóbal, which has aggravated the situation in vulnerable areas. In the Los Rios sector, in the National District, the overflow of a ravine left more than 500 homes affected, with total losses of furnishings and belongings, impacting dozens of families. The Emergency Operations Center, COE, reported several provinces in the country remain under different levels of alert due to the impact of a trough. The COE urged the population not to cross rivers, streams, and ravines with high volumes of water, and to stay attentive to official bulletins due to the persistence of atmospheric instability. In response to the emergency, President Luis Abinader ordered an immediate intervention to assist the affected families, after visiting the COE headquarters and assessing the damage. The president indicated that the government has deployed a comprehensive response since early morning, prioritizing the protection of lives and assistance to those affected. Through the Directorate of Social Assistance, food and aid are distributed, especially in Greater Santo Domingo, where the greatest damage is concentrated. An elderly man was rescued alive after being trapped in a sewer in a residential area of Las Praderas, in the municipality of Santo Domingo Oeste. The man, who was not identified, suffered a broken leg as a result of the incident, which occurred amidst flooding on Wednesday, caused by heavy rains from a trough. The rescue was carried out by civil defense brigades, along with members of the National District Fire Department. The agency reported that, in addition, about 10 vulnerable senior citizens were moved to safe areas. The executive director of Civil Defense, Juan Salas, indicated that the preventive and response efforts in the areas affected by the rains are mainly concentrated in the provinces of San Cristóbal, specifically in the Nigua and Yubazo river basin, as well as in vulnerable areas of Greater Santo Domingo, Puerto Plata, and Monte Plata. Our team has been on the ground saving lives. Likewise, we remain in contact with provincial governors and local mayors, with whom we are coordinating the activation of the Prevention, Mitigation, and Response Committees, CPMR, spaces where all response actors participate, said Salas. He further explained that, According to data from the Civil Defense Situation Room, there were significant floods in Manoguayabo, Los Alcarrizos, Pedro Brand, La Guayiga, and at kilometers 18 and 22 of the Duarte Highway. In the National District I, the Isabela River rose, and the Arroyo Manzano, Aguacate, and Los Girasoles ravines overflowed, with no victims reported so far. Salas indicated that in Monte Plata, there are still flooded areas, including the communities of Peralvillo, Las Cuevas, Los Botaos, Mamatingo, after the rise of the Ozama River. The provinces of Santiago Rodriguez, Elias Piña, Azua, Monte Plata, Dajabon, La Altagracia, Barahona, Santiago, Puerto Plata, Duarte, especially the Lower Yuna, and La Vega are under green alert. Residents in different sectors of the National District, as well as in Santo Domingo East and Santo Domingo West, reported flooding in both streets and homes, which has significantly hampered their movement to their workplaces and educational centers. I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning, as usual, to get ready to take my children to school and go to work, and I found the house flooded, said Francisco Santana, a resident of the Don Honorio sector in the National District. Severe flooding was also reported on the streets of the El Millón sector in the National District. According to videos sent to the newsroom, the water level had reached alarming proportions, nearly covering parked vehicles and nearly reaching the height of building fences, demonstrating the magnitude of the event and the impact of the rain on this residential area. In a WhatsApp group for residents of the area located on República de Colombia Street, one neighbor warned of the situation. Be careful when leaving the residential area. It's very flooded from the Palmas residential area to the exit. The same problem is occurring in communities near Monumental Avenue, where citizens have reported significant accumulations of water on the roads. In Santo Domingo East, the situation is also critical. The Mela Highway is completely blocked, reported a reader, highlighting the impact of the rainfall on one of the area's main thoroughfares. Adding to this are floods on the Mendoza Highway, where traffic has also been severely affected. Additionally, users have sent videos to the newsroom showing the Duarte Highway completely flooded at kilometer 18, as well as similar scenes in different sectors of the National District and Santo Domingo East, demonstrating the magnitude of the recorded rainfall. Authorities had already warned on Tuesday about the impact of a trough that would be generating heavy rains in much of the country, keeping several provinces on alert. According to the weather bulletin issued at 6 a.m. Wednesday, rain will persist in various provinces of the country due to the continuation of the trough. Rain is expected to continue from early morning, ranging from moderate to heavy, accompanied by thunderstorms, gusty winds, and possible hail. Landslides in vulnerable areas are also possible. The rains will mainly affect Greater Santo Domingo, San Cristóbal, La Romana, San Pedro de Macorís, Hato Mayor, Duarte, Maria Trinidad Sanchez, Sanchez Ramirez, Samaná, Monte Plata, El Cibao and Barahona, among other locations in the country. Meanwhile, the electrical system has also suffered the effects of the storm. On Jacobo Majluta Avenue, at least 3 downed power poles and damage to power lines have caused service interruptions in various residential areas and sectors, worsening the situation in communities already affected by flooding. The collapse highlights, once again, the fragility of urban infrastructure in the face of intense rainfall events, especially in areas where stormwater drainage is insufficient. On that same avenue, a driver lost control of his car, causing a traffic accident. There were no fatalities, only the driver suffered minor injuries.